Hey, what's going on, guys? And welcome to the Christopher Marc Show. So today I have the privilege of meeting a multi-talented voice actor. She's a performing artist. She is just an amazing overall person. Sarah, can you tell everybody your full name and what do you do?
Yes, I'm Sarah Haddock, and I primarily do voiceover. So I'm a voice actor.
Primarily. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So let me ask you a question. So what inspired you to decide, hey, you know what? My voice is awesome. Like this is my thing.
I did, drama in high school, and I was a theater major in college. So I have a little bit of an acting background, and voiceover was just always, kind of on the side, and I knew it was there. I knew it existed, and I dabbled in it a little bit over the years. And then eventually it just was like, you know what? Why am I not doing this?
Right.
Like, this makes total sense for me. So yeah, I dove in head first, and now I'm here.
Did anyone ever tell you had a nice voice? Was it like that moment where it was like you were on the phone with someone and they were just like, there's something about your voice, I don't know, I have this character associated with you and things like that?
Yeah, not necessarily a character, but I've had people tell me I have a voice like for radio and stuff. And radio used to be much bigger when I was younger, and I remember teacher's aide in high school telling me that I had a really good voice for being on air.
So what would you say is like the toughest thing about being, a voice actor, or being able to do what you do? You know what I mean? Because sometimes people think that it's simple, but
right.
There's a lot that goes into it. So what would you say is the toughest part about it?
You just really have to be resilient. Like any on-camera acting's the same way. You audition a lot, and you're not going to book everything that you audition for, and you're going to have good months and you're going to have bad months. So you really just have to stick with it, even in those down times when it feels like nothing's going to happen. Like, that's probably the hardest part, but you just got to stick with it because it's totally worth it.
Gotcha. Now, did you, recently, did you ever have a situation where it's like, or a job that you may have gotten and it was like, they wanted you to work on a project and it required you to do a little bit more work than what you normally would?
Yeah, I actually just recently did a job where I did a little bit of dubbing, which I had never done before. So I had to get the timing right and watch the video and try to line everything up. And I had never done that before. So that was a little bit of a challenge for me to not just record, but have to do it, in a certain sequence.
So when did you know that like you were like creative? Because some people, like, as they, it's like when, as you get older, you slowly come into it. But was there ever a moment in particular where it was like, hey, you know what? I really love being creative. Like, this is my jam. This is what I do.
I think it's always been in me a little bit. I do remember I took a drawing class my first year of college, and the professor asked if she could use my samples as examples for future students. So that was one moment that it was like, oh, I might be onto something. And then
it's powerful, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then I ran into, still college age probably, maybe just after, I ran into a teacher I'd had in middle school, and I didn't even remember that I had done a project in like 8th grade. And he said he was still using it to show the other kids how to do it. And it was like, whoa, okay. Like it definitely clicked. Like, okay, I don't just I enjoy doing this, of course, but like there's something to it. There's something to me being creative.
Yeah, it's when you realize like you're good, like,
Right.
because I think that's, sometimes people's like, they'll, how do I put this? Like, you'll know that you want to be creative. And so, okay, I'm going to create, but it doesn't mean that like you're good.
Right.
And like you haven't reached that level of like being like good at it. And then, you find out that you are, you're like, this is really shocking.
Right. No, it is. It's like an
I remember the first time I actually sung a song and someone was like, oh my God, you can sing. Now for me, I was just like, I'm going to express my soul. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But to them, it was just like, no, it was actually good. And I'm like, okay, all right, cool. So I'm on to something. I
Right.
got something here.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what would you say now, like, well, where you're at and the things that you achieved thus far? Like, what's your ultimate goal?
I just want to continue doing this. I really want to do bigger jobs. I want to become more of a staple in the voiceover community. I just
Mhm.
really want to continue doing what I'm doing and just excel.
Do you have like a group, like, because sometimes like when you're around people, it helps season you a little bit. So
Right.
do you have a group of people that you hang out with that?
Yeah, virtually.
Oh,
Not really locally. Where that's what's cool about voiceover now too is years ago you used to have to like go to demo on a CD and walk into a local studio and like try to get them to hire you, and it was much more beneficial to be in a big city.
hmm.
But now you can do it anywhere and you do it from home. But I definitely have connected with a lot of people virtually that way that are in different states and different cities, and we communicate and meet up and work on stuff together. So it's very cool.
Yeah, that is amazing because you get a chance to. It's good to be around people like when you can appreciate their talents as well, and then see like, okay, yeah, I can't do that.
Right.
I got a ways to go. Like
For sure.
what, what was this like when you're around people? Like, do you find that like what do you learn from them? Like, what was one moment where you saw this person doing something and you learned from them?
Just in general, or like,
Yeah, in general, like what was it? Something like maybe if they did fluctuate their voice a certain way, and now you're like, okay, I need to like work on that part. Was there ever a moment like that for you?
in voiceover, there's definitely been a few. It's really cool when you can physically see somebody doing it because you see how they're moving and how they're reacting and like how they're actually getting into the character. Even if it's for a commercial, you're still creating a person that's in this commercial.
Hmm.
Um, so, yeah, I don't know that I knew in the beginning how much acting is involved, which sounds kind of silly because I should have known that, from coming from acting. But you kind of just think like, oh, you say these lines and you're selling a product to a person. But it's like, no, you're really having to connect with the script and what it's about. And watching other voice talent do that when I was new was really, really helpful.
Yeah, because I'm sure that's like it's not an easy. It's when you're coming into it, it's like, okay, this is what I want to do. I know I'm good at it, but it's
Mhm.
like just learning the trial and error. Like, hey, here are the things that I'm struggling with a little bit, and
Right.
so kind of like I get what you're saying. Like when you see that person like actually do it, you're like, okay, now I know how to like change this.
Right.
So, what type of voice actor are you? Like, I mean, like, what is your genre that you fall
More commercial narration, that kind
in?
of stuff.
Okay.
But there's definitely a lot of room for character work that people do, animation and video games and things like that.
Okay. All right. So, was there ever a job that you got where it was like you really had to like it was like you had to stay up all night trying to figure out how to approach this?
Not necessarily all night, but yeah, I mean, I've definitely spent time. And
Okay.
there's days, we all have off days, and some days it is hard to connect with the script, and it's like, all right, I've got to get in this headspace where,
Yeah, because that's the tough thing about it. It's like you get into this spot where it's like um, you're focused on, okay, I know I gotta deliver here, but it's
Mhm.
like, is this going to match the vision of what they're trying to, like, do they give you storyboards or anything like that, or like,
Sometimes some people will, not everybody, but sometimes they will.
okay, so most times you're just like, this is just pure creativity. It's like I gotta wing this.
Yeah, there's times where it's just like female voice 35. Go. It's like, okay, here's the script. So
Do you like when you like because I know like in for most people, like with creative, when you're creative or when you're like an artist, like you find that people support you in what you're doing, like, you know, being like, hey, you can do this, like, you know, you got like a little fan drive.
Yes and no. Some people are very supportive, and I think some people just don't understand if they're not the creative type or want to be in a creative field. I don't know that they always necessarily understand when we want to do what we want to do. It's like you should just get an office job and work 9 to 5, you know?
Yeah.
But some people are very, very supportive.
You know, and I think that's the thing. It's like once you find like it, like I knew for me, like I had my mom and I had my grandmother, and they were like always like, okay, well, just go ahead and do what you need to do creatively.
Yeah.
My mom, you know, gave me this advice a long time ago. She's like, you need to have like a bunch of side hustles, and you need to work like you got like 7 kids at home. And I was like, 7? That's a lot. Like, can I get like at least just 2? Like, I'll start small and then ease up. Like, and it was, you know, it was like, listen, you know, you got 7. I'm like, okay, let's jump right into this. But I think that was the thing, like finding that person or people that support you is such a big thing when you're doing this, you know?
Yeah.
It's good.
My parents were always very supportive of me being creative, so that was huge. And then just in the voiceover community too, it's very nice. Like, it's very supportive. I've been in other acting type situations where it's more competitive, but I feel like in voiceover, like most people are building each other up.
That's cool. That is awesome. So do you miss like stage performing, like being on stage and being like, you know, in your acting zone?
I do sometimes. Yeah, I do improv locally, so I get that out a little bit, but I do, you know.
What's the all right. So here's the fun thing. Like when I would do put on shows and things like that, I would incorporate like improvisation into the production. So most people will be like, I'd be like, okay, now you just go out there and just do your thing, and they'll just be like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just like, listen, like just have fun. Don't worry, you won't see them. The lights are on you. You're going to be blinded, so don't worry about none of that. Just go out there and have a good time. What would you say is the mindset of a person who does improvisation?
Oh, that's when you're doing, it's the same thing. You're kind of creating a character. You're not necessarily you. There might be things that are you that come out. But yeah, you're playing. I guess that's the mindset I try to go in with. I'm literally playing with my friends like we're kids.
Okay.
This is supposed to be fun, and we're, you know, supposed to enjoy it. Like, I try not to put too much pressure on it.
Yeah, because I think sometimes people look at it like you're, you know, you're like quick thinkers. Like, you know, I mean, some people are just like, okay, you can think on your toes, and you can just be like, okay, hey, I'm doing this, and then what do you think about this? Oh, I was thinking about this, John.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but I think that's a thing where it's like most people would struggle with that.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, when did you know that you had the gift of like to be able to do improv?
Maybe 5 years ago. Well, maybe not even that long. Maybe like 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
I did a little bit in college and a little after, and then kind of had a break. And then right before the pandemic is when I decided to start again. So, you know, there was a little break in there because of that. But yeah, I think with the people that I do it with now is where I really improved.
So if someone was doing improv, right? I'm going to ask you a few more questions.
Yeah.
Someone was doing improv. What advice would you give them if they wanted to do it and they never did it before?
I mean, truly, just have fun. Just have fun. It helps.
Okay.
When you're starting a scene in improv, it does, for me, it helps establish relationship pretty quickly, figure out where you are. But then once you have that, it just happens.
Okay. Yeah, I would say the same thing. Yeah, have fun. And now if a person wanted to get into voice acting, what would you, how should they go about getting started? or what type of like training advice would you give them?
Definitely find a good coach. That's the first step, because trends also change in voiceover. So what you think might be what they want to hear may not be what they're doing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So getting a good coach is step one, and then create a demo, and then just start auditioning. But always, always be open to learning, no matter how long you've been doing it.
That's cool. Yeah, because sometimes people just get into this spot where they're just like, I feel like I'm great, I'm amazing, I'm awesome, and then they're just like, but they don't realize that that's when you plateau,
Right.
because now you're not taking in any more information, and so you don't grow,
Exactly.
as an artist. So yeah, that's true. Like, so what is your ultimate vision? Like, do you imagine yourself like being, voiceover for a commercial, like big commercial, like Super Bowl type style? What's the full vision?
Yeah, that would be the ultimate goal.
Okay, that's
cool. But I do like the commercial field. That's a genre I do really enjoy doing. So bigger and better is always great.
Yeah, all right, cool beans. So if people wanted to hire you and connect with you, how can they go about doing so?
I do have a website. It's just sarahhaddock.com. And I'm also on socials. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, things like that. And so any of those ways are a good way to connect with me. My demos and some of my samples are on my site. So it's like my resume. You can see what I've done.
Awesome. Yeah, and we're going to add Sarah to our community as well, so you guys can find her there. Sarah, I appreciate you making the time for this, because I know you're busy and doing your thing, but it's amazing, like being able to walk that path and just say, I'm going to do this. You know what I mean? Because it's not, I think that's the thing about being an artist. It's like, it is a long-term commitment, but you also have to be like, you have to really love it, because other than that, it's like, it's not fun. Now you just work.
Exactly. We've all done that.
It's like, if you don't have that moment where you're just like, man, I can't believe I'm getting paid for this, then it's like, you're not having a good time.
Exactly. It's true.
Yeah, but I appreciate you taking the time to join us on the show.
Yeah,
and yeah. Well, I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, thank you so much.